Good morning, everyone. Welcome to one of our very early YALLWEST panels. This is Cozy Comforts. I am Tahereh Mafi. I'm the author of the Shatter Me series, A Very Large Expansive Sea, the upcoming An Emotion of Great Delight, and a couple of middle grade novels. So just a bunch of books for kids and young adults. It is my pleasure and privilege today to be able to be moderating this amazing panel for YALLWEST. We have an incredible lineup here today, and I'm going to let these wonderful authors introduce themselves in just a moment and talk a bit about the books that they are currently promoting, and then we will get down to it. So Ashley Elston, if you want to go first.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm the author of 10 Truths and a Dare that comes out next week or 2 weeks. And it is the companion novel to 10 Blind Dates that came out in 2019. It's a rom-com set during high school graduation, the parties, and kind of, all the year-end stuff that these last 2-year classes really have not kind of been able to enjoy. So it was particularly interesting writing this in the middle of that. So what's coming out?
Yay. Can you tell us when it's coming out?
May 4th.
Awesome. Ashley W.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Woodfolk. I'm the author of When You Were Everything, which just came out in paperback in March. I'm the author of the Fly Girl series, which are some great books for reluctant readers. They're super, super short. 3 of them are out right now. There's one more coming out this August. And then also upcoming is Blackout, which I wrote with some of my favorite bookish people. Danielle Clayton, Tiffany Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, and Nicola Yoon are also in this novel. And it's an interconnected novel of 6 love stories set during a blackout.
Thank you. Francesca?
Hi, I'm Francesca Flores, and I'm the author of Diamond City and Shadow City. It's a YA fantasy assassin duology, and the second book just came out in January. So that's me.
And Alan?
Hey guys, I'm Alan Gratz. I'm the author of a bunch of different books, but Refugee's been probably my biggest one. Allies came after that. And then this year, just in February, I had Ground Zero come out. And Ground Zero is the story of 2 different kids. One of them is 9-year-old Brandon, who is in the North Tower of the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001, and has to try and survive after the first plane hits. And the second story is 11-year-old Reshmina, who is an Afghan girl who is caught up in her own version of 9/11 in the present day as her village becomes a battleground between the United States and the Taliban. So that's my new book, and I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Awesome. And Faridah?
Hi, I'm Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé, and I'm the author of Ace of Spades, which comes out in June 1st in the US, and it's a YA thriller pitched as Get Out meets Gossip Girl.
Awesome. Wow, so many amazing books. Thank you guys. Okay, so I'm going to give you all a single task right now. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I'm going to ask you to find something in your office. I'm sure not all of you are currently in your office spaces right now, but if you could grab one thing that is essential to you as a writer when you write, aside from your computer, if you could grab that item and show it to us on the screen, I will start. While you guys find your things, I'll do a thing for you. Like, for example, I have this teeny little notebook here. And this is not my normal writing notebook, but I always have a notebook on my desk. It's very important for me, even if I don't write in it. It's just like I have to have something to write in, because I never know if I need to, write longhand. Sometimes it helps me work things out. So that is an essential item for me when I'm working. What about you guys? Does anybody just want to jump in? Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I have to have Dr. Pepper, and for some reason, I really love this
Not what I was
medieval
expecting.
cup that I got. My older boys are in college now, but we went when they were like 5 and 7, and I brought this cup home, and it's sort of been with me ever since. Maybe it's the handle. I don't know, but it works.
Okay, can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
Why Dr. Pepper?
It's Diet Dr. Pepper, and I do not know.
Diet Dr. Pepper. I mean, like, a lot of people like Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi. This is seems very specific.
Yeah,
there's
it
no.
It's just delicious. I don't know what
Okay.
else to say.
Yeah, this is a solid answer. Okay, anybody else want to jump in?
I will. So it doesn't have to be this thing specifically, but I have a lot of little sort of like doodads on this is a goddess that I just got off Etsy, and I have a lot of other little like doodads on my shelf, but I have to have something like tactile to just like, I don't know, like play around with while I'm thinking. And I like things that have a little bit of weight to them. It's just, I don't know, it sort of like grounds me in my seat. And I also have like I don't have it like right beside me, but I have like a little, a portable weighted blanket. I used to take it whenever I flew because it helped with my anxiety about flying, but it also just helps when I'm writing. It's the same kind of thing, to feel like grounded, that I'm like here in this place or wherever I am in my head. So yeah, I just have a bunch of little things like on my desk or around my workspace that I can pick up and sort of move around in my hands while I'm thinking, or, in those moments when I'm not actually typing.
I love that. I've never heard that before. I love it.
And I'll follow up on that too, because I have a lot of little doodads around my desk as well, and so that fits really great. Mine are in the form of little toys. Like I have a little Totoro. I've got a little Lego Admiral Akbar. I've got a Godzilla that I picked up in Japan, and Flintheart Glom Gold. But you can see I've got a lot more toys back behind me, and I've got even more toys up here on my desk that I haven't pulled out to show off. But I too, like Ashley, like to just kind of pick these up and play with them while I'm thinking. And I like having them look back at me. I like when I look up, I can see all these different things, and that they just, I don't know, they amuse me and they inspire me, and they give my eyes somewhere to wander when they leave the screen. When I'm thinking and I'm not actually writing, trying to put the story together in my head. So I love having my little guys out on my desk.
I love that.
I have this blanket because I am always cold. I have several other blankets, but they're like lighter than this or too heavy. So this one is perfect, and there's little stars on it. If I'm even a little bit cold, I won't be able to focus on writing. So this is necessary.
I love that. Yeah. Faridah.
I have this pen, which is like shaped as tea. And it's kind of meant to represent the fact that I always have tea around me, but it's like my mug's in the kitchen right now. So that's the representation.
I love that. Oh yeah, I'm normally a big tea drinker myself. Actually, I want to grab something and show you guys. So I have this stuff that my daughter likes to call work Play-Doh. She knows that it's mommy's work Play-Doh. It's really tough putty. So like you guys were talking about grabbing things and holding them and they ground you and, reaching for something. I feel like we've all pointed out different things that we reach for that we can hold. Even with the blanket, it's something that holds us, covers us, it grounds us. I love that. And I wonder what that is. I wonder if it's like we have to touch things and have this tactile experience while our minds are working out the kinks in the plots we're trying to figure out or the stories that we're working on. And I love working on these things. Like this is
that looks like it'll be really satisfying. Not gonna lie.
Satisfying. It really is. And like it gives my fingers a workout. And if you have nervous habits, like I have, I'm wearing a watch, like I'm that person who will just like open and close the clasp 100 times while I'm thinking about something.
Yeah,
right?
Keep fiddling with it.
Yeah, totally. And so it helps me to have something that I can squish.
Yes.
So I really feel that. Do any of you guys sleep with a weighted blanket? Have you ever done that? Yeah, yeah, I do too. It's really nice.
I think a lot of authors have anxiety, or at least deal with like a lot of stress. And so I think all of these things that we've mentioned are sort of the kinds of things that therapists would like recommend you have if you are someone who deals with anxiety, because the whole thing with anxiety and depression, right, is that if it's anxiety, you're thinking about the things you can't control in the future, right? And if it's depression, you are thinking about things that you can't change about the past, or at least that's what they say. Obviously, there are chemical imbalances that make all of these things happen, and that's the real reason. But I think a lot of times the thought patterns are about things you can't change. And one of the ways to combat those thoughts is to be present, right? And the only way to be present is to remind yourself of where you are in space. And so I think all of these things, sort of like having something to hold, or having something that is like, you know, literally pressing you down into your seat or into your bed, are like, is a way to combat those kind of spirally not helpful thoughts when they come, especially if you're trying to focus on something and actually write.
Totally.
This is my theory.
No, that was profound and beautiful. And yeah, totally agree. I think it's so nerve-wracking to be a human being, but also, you know, when you want to sit down and write, and you have to, you know, you're shutting out a bunch of things. You're shutting out the world, but you're also trying to kind of shut out your mind, the active processes of your mind, in order to lose yourself, escape into another world, or to immerse yourself in the mind and voice of a fictional character. And so I think that these rituals, these things, like now I can't put this down. I just want to like smush it. I think it's really helpful, and these tools are really helpful. And I think they should be treated pretty seriously as like the tools we use to help us be more productive writers. And I wanted to say, you know, it's always a challenge, right? Always a challenge just in general under the best circumstances. But I'm sure you guys have had this conversation a lot, but you know, 2020 was crazy, and we all thought like, oh, 2021, and 2021 was like, hold my beer. It's gonna be a wild ride. You know, so I just mean like it's been tough. It's been tough, and these times have been isolating and alienating, and we've still been expected to be productive, and it's taxing. So I guess I want to know, have you incorporated any new techniques in the last year and a half, you know, to specifically help you through 2020? Have you incorporated any new rituals to help you write during this extremely difficult time?
Probably the biggest change for me is I used to write in a coffee shop because we have a home-based business. And so when I'm at home, in my head, I have to work on those things, the books or invoicing, you know, or, you know, things that keep the lights on. So when I would go write, that would be the separation for me, as I would write elsewhere. Well, then all of a sudden that was kind of taken away from me. So I had to rethink how I wrote and where that was in my house, and to sort of give myself the freedom in that space that was typically something else. And I also have 3 kids, and, you know, everybody's in and out, and to say, okay, well, this is sort of my space and this is my time. And even though I'm here, I'm not here. And that was a huge, huge change for me, but good in a way, because I found a lot of comfort in kind of crawling up on the couch with my blanket and being by my favorite window and thinking, okay, well, maybe I don't have to be at the coffee shop to write.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anybody else have a similar experience or different altogether?
Yeah, I usually wrote it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go. Francesca, you go.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Yeah, I also usually wrote at coffee shops. So I was already like leaving the house every day, but now I've had to make sure that I take a walk each day, even if it's just like a 15-minute walk or something like that, just to have fresh air and get away from my apartment. Because I have a tiny apartment, like my office is my bedroom. So I'm just in the same room all day, but the walks help a lot.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wish I had my life together enough to say that I had implemented like new rituals. But I have a toddler and I haven't had daycare for a
Oh,
year.
God.
So I just kind of get the words in when I can. I don't know that I have like a specific ritual. There's definitely not a specific place in my apartment where I write. We have a desk here, but my husband mostly uses it because he has a 9 to 5.
Right.
I would say I write on it like maybe once a month, but I'm definitely not like sitting at that desk. I'm writing on my phone. My laptop is with me on the couch or on the terrace if like my kid is like playing. So yeah, I'm kind of all over the place. I definitely do not have a new location. I had an office space before, and I would drop my kid off at daycare, and then I would go to my little office space, and it was great. But yeah, haven't had that for a while. So yeah, I would say I guess the ritual would be that like I would go to DC to visit my parents. I mean, I've only done it like 4 times since the pandemic started because, it was not the safest thing to do. But those times when I was there, I did get a lot of writing done because I could just like throw my baby at my parents and be like, I'm going to go hide.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Faridah, Alan?
So I was already kind of living under quarantine conditions before the pandemic. That's the funny thing for me is that I don't like to go out and write elsewhere. I write here in my office, and it's like my full-time job. So I don't have a day job to leave the house, and I had already cut back on my school visits and my conference visits to be home more. And so I kind of joke with people I was already living under quarantine conditions by the time the pandemic started. But the thing that I had to change was because everything went virtual. Now I had people coming to me and saying, I had requests for Zoom visits all the time. And so what I started to do was when I had any kind of say over the scheduling of it, if it's a conference or something, you do it whenever. But if it was me sort of arranging this with other people, I would always try and set those in the afternoon so that I could have my morning block of writing time. So that was the biggest thing for me was when it used to be I could hide in my house from the world, and now the world was coming into my house because the pandemic made the world go into everybody's houses. And so now I had to say, well, okay, wait. So I have to have this particular time that's just for me, and try and push all the other stuff to the afternoon or evenings so that I could have that block of writing time that I would and protect that really jealously.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand. And Faridah?
I used to go to the cinema a lot because I kind of like to refill the well by kind of consuming other media forms. And so, because we couldn't do that anymore, I would watch a film with my friend every Sunday and kind of have that rigid like schedule. You're still doing it now. It's been like a year of watching films every Sunday. And so, that's been really cool because I think it's kind of helped also, I guess, have small talk with someone while we're not really talking to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always been kind of isolating being an author. And at first I was like, well, I'm an introvert and I already work from home. So at least, it's not it's not like so difficult for me because I'm accustomed to this. And I know there's so many people, dear friends of mine, so many people I know, there are extroverts. And for them, all this isolation was genuinely like, it was making them ill. It's very, very difficult when you're the kind of person who thrives on conversation and being social. But I think it took a toll on all of us. I hope I'm not sure that I can speak for everybody, but I feel like it eventually took a toll on even the most introverted among us. We were not immune. And, so I feel like for some people, their ritual their 2020 ritual or their post 2020 ritual has just been to not write at all. To just survive. The way to get through it is to just be like, you know what? I got dressed today and we'll see about the rest of it. And it's been a different struggle for everybody, depending on where you are and what you're dealing with. So I think we're all just doing the best we can, and we shouldn't really have to ask much more of that from ourselves. But that being said, I'd love to transition to like a dream scenario. So we've talked about like a super difficult scenario, right? Like right now, last year. What about like if you could have your writing situation be like no limit on any of it, right? No limit on your imagination. What is the ideal writing situation for you and writing ritual for you? Like how would that, how would you design that for yourselves? And Faridah, let's start with you. We'll start backwards and I'll jump around a little bit more now.
So usually before the pandemic, I'm in Scotland for university, and I lived by like the beach, and so I would like on a good day, I would really like to go to like the beach and like write by like the cafe there. That'll be like the perfect situation for me.
That sounds very romantic. Ashley E., you want to jump in?
Yes, I want to go back to the coffee shop, and I won't complain about how loud the people are next to me. That's probably the biggest difference. Like bring the noise.
Does it help you, for those of you who work in public spaces, does it help you to be around other people who are working? Does that like help facilitate are you motivated by the hustle and bustle? Yeah.
That will leave in my home space is sort of the first thing, but I have a block of time that I can be there, whether it's, I have carpool to pick up by 3. So, I only have a couple hours, and it's almost the time. I have to make the most of my time. Right. And I think it's less about, I think being around other people help, but it's to me, like I go in with, I have 2 hours, like I have carpool coming up, or I have, to pick up from practice, or I have to do something. And so it's that, okay, I'm going to sit here for 2 hours, and I have a very clear idea of either how many words I want to try to write or how many chapters I want to try to edit. And it's that idea of, okay, go. And at home, if I try to write, it's like, okay, well, the dryer went off, so let me go deal with the dryer real quick. And it's really just sort of owning that time, I guess.
Right. No, I understand. Francesca, what about you? Dream ritual situation, dream work situation.
So first, I would become a vampire because sleep is such a waste of time. I love eating and I love food. I love sleeping, but waste of time. I would become a vampire, and then I would travel and I would spend a month in a different country at a time. And I need the no sleeping because I want time to explore and like meet new people while I'm there, right? So maybe I would write at night. I would find like a 24-hour cafe and get the writing done then as my vampire self. I'll figure out the blood situation. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but I'd write at night and I would explore in the daytime. That's ideal.
I love that answer. Wow. Like you really went big with the dream,
Yeah. And I need like a ring, like a daylight ring or something, because aren't vampires not supposed to be out during the daytime?
Yeah, it depends on the lore, but
kind of work on.
If that's the type of vampire I become, I would figure it out.
I was thinking of Vampire Diaries, so you could just get a daylight ring and then you'd be fine.
See?
Yes, I'd have to get on that.
Okay, Ashley, what about you? Would you vampire or different scenario for you? Ashley,
I would not vampire because I love sleeping. I think that my dream scenario would be that I would like own a house in like Big Sur. or somewhere else that was like very beautiful and close. There's dogs in my courtyard right now. Sorry, guys.
No worries. We can still hear you.
Okay, good. So yeah, I would own like a house near somewhere beautiful, close to water. Let me close this window. And I would have a full-time nanny. And so the nanny could be here with my baby, like taking care of him, and I could be writing near the ocean. So yeah, I think that would be my ideal scenario.
Yep, I love it. I love it. Okay, Alan, what about you?
So I kind of have things set up in a way that I like here, but I guess if I could add to it, or what I would really love is like a Victorian study with with leather-bound books on shelves and a fire going, to keep it kind of snug and warm, and maybe my dog at my feet, that kind of thing, and I have all these little knickknacks all over the place, but I also dream of like a Spartan place. I always want things to be Spartan, and then I clutter them up very fast. So it'd be neat, like in my ideal version, it's this Spartan Victorian kind of study where I feel really snug and I can just focus on the book. But I'm too cluttered and distracted for it in reality, I think.
No, I understand. Sometimes the ideal or our dreams are, they don't quite pan out in the practical world. But that's that's why they're dreams, right? Like for me, I like if really like if we can vampire in this alternate reality, I think my greatest wish would be for to be able to change the weather so that whenever I'm writing, it's rainy. And like only when I'm writing, like like really serious scenes, like it's like thunder and lightning and like hard rain and, like a nice fire going. And when I'm writing really happy scenes, like the sun is shining and the birds are chirping and, like I would love for the weather to accommodate my interests and needs because I find the atmosphere extremely inspiring and compelling when I'm working. So and I love, sometimes I'll just listen to Rainy Mood. Like I just wear headphones and I just, rainymood.com, it's just thunder constantly. So yeah, so I love this. I love this, the big dreaming. You guys, we have about 10, 12 minutes left, and we've got some questions from the audience. You guys up for answering some fun questions from the people? Okay, I'm going to take that as tacit approval and acceptance. All right, so here's one that I love, which is, what is your writing medium of choice? Pen and paper, laptop, typewriter? I do know some authors who write their books longhand, so is that for any of you guys, or are we all traditional writers with the computer here?
Laptop.
Laptop? Ashley W., laptop or?
Laptop.
Yeah, I have a laptop, but I also have an external keyboard that I really love. It's very clicky.
Nice.
And I tend to use Scrivener when I'm revising, but I draft just like in Word.
Got it. Cool.
I do the reverse.
I have like weird.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ashley. Go ahead.
I said I do have a weird way that I like get ready to write. I have it down here. I'm gonna pull it up. So
this is great.
Oh,
Wow. Oh my
I
gosh.
usually have to keep it near me, but
That's awesome.
then it's just laptop.
Nice. Okay. Anybody else? Alan, you were going to jump in?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm the opposite of Ashley. I use Scrivener to begin with, and then move to Word late in the process. Mostly because that's what my editors are using, and so I use Scrivener when it's just me. And then once we get into editorial mode, I often switch over to Word because it's easier to not have it in two places then. But I also, to get back to the original question too about like pen and paper or pencil and paper versus computer work, I still write all my books on my computer. don't write. I love to write by hand, but I don't write fast enough to follow what my brain is thinking to get the words on the page. So what I do is I outline too, just like Ashley E. I have my big board back here behind me, and I've got note cards where I'm building a story right now, just like her post-its on her big piece of paper there. And I do all those by hand with pencil, because this, when I'm building the story and thinking about it, I want to go slow, and I have the time to go slow because I'm working my way through the different permutations of the story. So when I'm doing that, the outline phase, I can use pencil and paper because I want to go slow. When I'm actually in the writing phase of it, when I know what my outline is and I have a roadmap to follow, then I want to be typing it, because then I'm putting out a lot more words per minute than I was back then. So I kind of do a mix, but mostly on the computer.
Got it. Yeah.
I always wanted to be a posted person. I'm not a posted person. It just feels so organized, and I would love to be that way, and I'm just not.
I feel
Come on
you
over.
that.
You can do it.
All right. Francesca, did you want to jump in? You were going to say something.
I usually write on my laptop on Scrivener, but I also love writing on my phone on Google Docs. Before I started like writing full time, I would like write on my commute to work on my phone. It was like a half-hour commute, so I would just like bust out 2K words like to work and from work each day. But now I still like it for doing small things, like if I can't focus, because the phone screen is like so small, so you can only see one paragraph at a time. So it just helps me like zero in on that if I'm having trouble like seeing this whole page. Or if I'm just doing like line edits on my own, like I'm just reading through one more time and fixing small things. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Faridah, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I'm quite basic. I just use Word on my laptop.
Nice.
Word.
Yeah, very basic too. Okay, so we have just a couple of minutes left, and there are so many questions from the audience that we are unfortunately not going to be able to get to. But there's a really fun one that I love to ask, because I'm always learning. I mean, I think what I've learned here today is that like there's like a million ways to write a book, and I've always known this, but you've just reaffirmed this for me, and I love it. So I want to ask you all a really fun question that we can close out with. I want to know, what is your favorite go-to writing snack? This was a question from the audience, not my own, but I think it's a really fun one, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Feel free to jump in.
Twizzler.
Oh, you've got it.
Twizzler.
Ashley, ready. You've got your Twizzler.
Have to have Twizzlers. You know, it's perfect with Diet Dr. Pepper.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow. Do you ever just like stick it in the Diet Dr. Pepper and like?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. Anybody else?
I really love the Coca-Cola Gummies. The little Coke bottles.
Yeah.
I can go through a lot of those. Or sunflower seeds. I find I don't know, it helps to like, it's sort of the same thing as like having something in my hand, but it's like in my mouth. With the sunflower seeds, you're like moving it around, and you know, it's like a very active food.
Yeah, got it. Question though, do the Coca-Cola gummies have caffeine in them? Is that why you like them?
You know, I don't know if they do. They definitely have a lot of sugar in them. But I just really like the flavor.
Okay, that's also a solid answer. All right, cool. Francesca?
I love basically anything chocolate, but lately it's been these sunflower chocolate cup things from Trader Joe's. I don't know how to describe them, but I think they're dark chocolate, and they look like little peanut butter cups, but it's just chocolate. They're good. Also, oatmeal. These oatmeal chocolate chip cookies from Trader Joe's. Those are good too.
You guys are just making me hungry. Alan?
So I used to keep treats at my desk, but then I just ate all day. So now what I do is when I hit milestones in my writing, I have a little bowl at my desk, just a tiny little bowl. And when I hit a milestone, I get to walk upstairs and I get to fill it full of M&Ms and bring it back down and eat the M&Ms. I have other treats that I like, but I found I have to have stuff also that won't get on my fingers and on the keyboard. So like I had to think about I had to think about the things that won't track onto the keyboard as well. So plain M&Ms is my little treat for milestones.
So disciplined. I love it. Beautiful. Faridah, what about you?
I don't know if it counts, but it's just mostly tea, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel you. I understand completely. I'm fasting right now for Ramadan, so I'm not eating anything. But on a regular basis, for me, it's just black tea. I'm like you, Faridah. I just need tea. But yeah, so I wish I had something more compelling to add to that. You guys are just inspiring me with these answers. I mean, we've got Twizzlers and Diet Dr. Pepper. We've got little Coca-Cola bottles. We've got sunflower and dark chocolate, chocolates. We've got adorable little M&M bowls. I mean, you guys are just blowing my mind here. Technically out of time. I just wanted to thank you all so much. You were a delight and joy. I hope your writing rituals continue to be as wonderful and creative as they sound. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you guys for watching. If you're still here with us, if you guys want to say a quick goodbye to everybody out there.
Hi, thank you for hosting.
Bye, guys. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
We'll see you next time.